Have you ever tried to learn English and just felt completely overwhelmed? Yeah, I think we've all been there. Well, if that's you, you are in the perfect place right now. We're about to show you a way that makes it all so much simpler. So let's just dive right in.
Okay, first things first, let's just look at the big, scary number. The English language has over 170,000 words. I mean, look at that. When you see a number like that, it's totally normal to feel like it's this impossible mountain you could never, ever climb.
So, let me ask you a question, and be honest. Do you really think you can learn all 170,000 of those words? No way, of course not. And you know what? That's the best news you're going to hear all day, because you absolutely don't have to. Actually, thinking you need to is probably the biggest mistake most people make.
So get this. What if I told you that you can speak clear, confident, everyday English with just 521 words? Seriously, that's it. Just 521 simple words are all you need to handle most of the conversations you'll have on a daily basis. And that is the secret we are going to unlock today.
So what are these magical 521 words? Well, they're called high-frequency words. And no, these are not some fancy, complicated academic words. We're talking about the simple stuff. Words like I, go, good, time. The words that pop up over and over and over again in pretty much every single conversation.
And this right here, this is the core idea. Being fluent in English isn't about having a giant vocabulary. Not at all. It's about getting really, really good at using a small group of super useful words. It's all about repetition, not just memorizing a dictionary. Okay, so knowing the words is the first step. But how do you actually use them to speak, right? Well, that brings us to the next piece of the puzzle, the power of patterns. This is where it all starts to click. I want you to think about it like this. Your words are like little cars, but sentence patterns, they're the roads. See, if you have a nice, clear road, your car can just go smooth and easy. But without that road, the car is just stuck. These patterns give your words a path to follow, so you can speak without always getting stuck thinking, what's the grammar rule here? And the best part is, you don't need to learn hundreds of these patterns. You can start with just these 5 core ones. Think about how much you can say with these. You can talk about what you want, what you need, your plans, what you like, and your obligations. That covers a huge chunk of daily life. I want to eat. I need to go. I'm going to work. Simple, clear, and they just work. So really, what we're talking about is a total shift in how you learn. The wrong way is trying to memorize the dictionary, being terrified of making mistakes, and waiting forever to feel perfect. The smart way? You use these patterns, you speak a little bit every day, and your goal is just to express yourself. That's it.
All right, so how do we make this a real habit? I mean, theory is great, but progress, that comes from doing something consistently. And you don't need to block out hours of your day. All you need is 10 minutes.
Here's your daily game plan, and it is incredibly simple. You just pick 10 of your 521 words. Then you make 5 sentences using those words and the patterns we just talked about. And this next part is the most important. You have to say them out loud. Then you just repeat those exact same sentences for 3 days. What this does is build muscle memory both in your mouth and in your brain. And as you're doing this, just keep a few things in mind. First, consistency is everything. 10 minutes every day is way more powerful than 2 hours once a week. And mistakes? They're not bad. They're actually your best teachers. Oh, and always remember, speaking slowly and clearly is way better for building confidence than trying to speak fast. Okay, this brings us to what is probably the biggest, most important part of this whole thing. For pretty much every single person learning a language, the biggest enemy isn't grammar. It's not vocabulary. It's the mental game. It's fear.
Let's just be super clear about this. The fear of making a mistake, the fear of sounding silly, the fear of being judged, that is what stops you from speaking. It's almost never a lack of words.
And here's why this whole 521 word method works so well. Psychologically, when you only have to focus on a small set of simple, familiar words, your brain doesn't feel stressed out. It actually feels safe. And when your brain feels safe, that fear goes away, and it lets you speak without freezing up.
You know, we really need to change how we think about fluency. It's not about talking a million miles an hour with a perfect accent. True fluency is about feeling comfortable when you speak. Because when you're comfortable, you'll speak more. And when you speak more, you get better. It's this amazing, powerful cycle. So if you remember one thing from all of this, let it be this.
Your goal in a conversation is not to impress people. Your goal is to express yourself, your ideas, your feelings, what you need. And to do that, 521 words is more than enough.
So, there you have it. You have the words, you have the patterns, you have a 10-minute plan. The only thing left to do is to start. You know, perfect is never going to come. Ready happens after you start speaking, not before. So the only real question left is, will you start your journey today?